I was arranging fresh tulips in a vase when the phone rang. The sun was streaming into my quiet kitchen, catching the dust motes dancing in the air. It was a perfect, peaceful morning. I picked up, expecting to hear my son's voice, to finalize the time we'd meet for lunch. But it was my daughter-in-law, Chloe. Her voice was bright, almost too sweet. "Hi, Laura. I'm just sending you some photos from our trip to the coast last weekend." A notification popped up on my screen. I tapped it, and the world stopped. There they were. My son, Michael, Chloe, their closest friends, all dressed in white, standing on a cliff overlooking the ocean. And in the center of the group, beaming, stood Chloe's parents. It wasn't just a weekend trip. It was their wedding. My only son had gotten married, and I had been sorting laundry while he said his vows. My name is Laura. For most of my life, I defined myself as Michael's mom. His father, David, passed away when Michael was just 10. After that, it was just the two of us against the world. I worked double shifts as a nurse to give him everything he needed: good schools, nice clothes, the occasional treat. I never wanted him to feel the lack, the emptiness that David's absence left in our home. I was so proud of the man he became. He got a good job in the city. He met Chloe. She was beautiful and sharp, with a career in marketing that seemed so glamorous to me. I was happy for him. Truly. When they moved in together, I saw how much they were struggling. The city was expensive. Their ambitions were bigger than their paychecks. So I started helping. It began small. "Mom, can you cover my car insurance this month? It's a little tight." "Of course." "Laura, our landlord is raising the rent. We might have to move." I couldn't bear the thought of them being stressed, so I started sending a monthly check. $500. It became a routine, a part of my budget. I told myself it was an investment in their happiness. I'd skip getting my hair done. I'd put off replacing my worn-out sofa. Their comfort was more important than my comfort. I loved having them over for Sunday dinners. I would cook for hours, all of Michael's favorites. But the dynamic had shifted. The conversations were different. They talked about restaurants I couldn't afford, about trips they were planning. I felt like a spectator in my son's life. An old, familiar piece of furniture, always there, but not really seen. I thought if I could just be helpful enough, generous enough, I would secure my place in their new, shiny world. I was laying down a path of money, hoping it would lead me back to his heart. The phone call with Chloe lasted only a few more minutes after I saw the photo. My hand was trembling. "Chloe," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "this looks like a wedding." There was a pause on the other end. I could hear her breathing. "It was, Laura," she said, her tone losing its sweetness, becoming practical, firm. "We decided to do something spontaneous, just us and our closest circle. It was perfect. Closest circle." The words echoed in the silent kitchen. I looked at the tulips I had just arranged. They seemed suddenly too bright, too cheerful. "But I'm his mother," was all I could manage to say. "I know," Chloe said, a hint of impatience in her voice. "But Michael and I agreed. We only wanted the people there who are actively part of our daily lives, who are building the future with us. You understand, don't you?" I didn't understand. I felt like I was falling. The room tilted. I had spent the last 3 years building their future with my own 2 hands, with every check I wrote for them, with every meal I cooked for them. And with one sentence, she had knocked the foundation out from under me. I was not considered part of their future. The silence after that call was the loudest I have ever heard. Michael didn't call. No explanation, no apology. Just a text the next day that said, "Hope you're not too upset, Mom. It's just how we wanted it." I felt a physical ache in my chest. I wandered through my small house, a place filled with memories of Michael growing up. The notch on the doorframe where we marked his height every birthday. The stain on the carpet from a spilled art project. This house held my whole life, but it felt empty now. A week after the wedding photos, the financial request started again. It was like nothing had happened. Chloe called. "Laura, hi. The transfer for the rent hasn't come through yet. The landlord is asking." Her voice was back to that bright, casual tone. I was silent for a long moment. I looked at the kitchen table, scarred from years of use. I thought of the countless times I had sat there, writing those checks, feeling a sense of purpose. Now, the purpose was gone. All that was left was the habit. "Chloe," I said, my voice calm, steady. "After your wedding, I just need a little time to sort some things out." The sweetness vanished from her voice. "Sort what out? Laura, we need that money. This is our home." "Our home. A home I paid for, but was not welcome in for their most important moment." I ended the call, promising nothing. The pressure escalated. Michael started calling. His tone was different, not apologetic, but frustrated. "Mom, what's going on? Chloe's really stressed. You know how she gets. Can you just send the money? We have bills." I felt like I was being cornered. They were a team, and I was the problem that needed to be managed. The problem of my own feelings. The problem of my sudden, unexpected resistance. Then they started showing up, unannounced. The first time they brought dessert, a peace offering, I suppose. But the conversation was strained. They talked about their new life, their plans. They didn't mention the wedding. It was a giant elephant in my small living room. When they left, Michael hugged me. It felt stiff, perfunctory, like a duty. The second time they came, the mask slipped completely. It was about a loan I had co-signed for their car. "The payment is due, Mom," Michael said, his arms crossed. "If we miss it, it hurts your credit too." It wasn't a reminder. It was a threat. A subtle one, but a threat nonetheless. I saw a look pass between him and Chloe, a look of shared strategy. I was no longer his mother in that moment. I was a financial liability. I started sleeping poorly. I would lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, going over the numbers in my head. The rent, the car payments, the gifts for new furniture, the loans for vacations. I had dipped into the savings David had left me, the money that was supposed to be my cushion, my security in my old age. I had given it to them, dollar by dollar, thinking I was buying a piece of their happiness. Now I saw I was just renting a piece of their tolerance. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday. I was feeling particularly low. I decided to clean out the spare room, a space that had become a dumping ground for memories and things I didn't know what to do with. In the back of the closet, I found an old box of Michael's things from college. I wasn't snooping, I was just remembering. I found notebooks, old photos, and then, tucked inside a yearbook, I found a folded piece of paper. It was a printout of an email from Chloe to Michael. The date was from over a year ago. My heart hammered in my chest. I shouldn't read it, but a cold feeling in my gut told me I had to. I smoothed the paper out on the floor. It was a long email, full of plans and dreams, but one paragraph jumped out at me, the words burning themselves into my mind. "And once your mom's house is fully paid off in a few years, we can use it as collateral for the business loan. It's our safest asset. She'd want us to have it eventually anyway. It's not like she has anyone else to leave it to." I dropped the paper as if it had shocked me. I sat there on the floor, in the dust and the memories, and I felt the last illusion shatter. It wasn't just about the monthly checks. It was about the long game. My house, the home I shared with David, the home where I raised Michael. To them, it wasn't a home filled with love and memories. It was an asset, a stepping stone. They weren't just spending my present, they were spending my future. The anger didn't come. Not then. Instead, a deep, quiet calm settled over me. The confusion was gone. The heartbreak was still there, but it was now a fact, not a storm. I knew exactly what I had to do. I went to the kitchen and made a pot of tea. I took out a notepad and a pen. I started to write, not a letter of anger, but a list of actions, a plan. First, I needed legal advice. I called an attorney, a woman named Sarah Jenkins, who specialized in elder law. I told her my story, my voice steady. I showed her the numbers I had calculated. She listened, her expression kind but firm. "Laura," she said, "what you're describing is financial exploitation. You have every right to protect yourself." With her guidance, I began. I went to the bank and met with my manager, a kind man named Ben, who had watched my account slowly drain over the years. "Ben," I said, "I need to cancel all automatic transfers to my son's account, and I need to revoke any access he might have." He looked at me, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, followed by respect. "Of course, Laura. Right away." Next, I went to a hardware store. I bought new, sturdy locks for all my doors. I scheduled someone to install a simple security system, not out of paranoia, but out of principle. My home was my sanctuary again. I would decide who entered. I sat with Sarah Jenkins again. We drafted a new will. I left my estate to a local charity that supported single mothers. It felt right. It felt like justice. I also wrote a clear, formal letter to Michael and Chloe. I didn't accuse or yell. I simply stated that I would no longer be providing any financial support. I wished them well in building their own future, as they had so clearly stated they wanted to do. I was not being cruel. I was being consistent. They had drawn a line, defining their closest circle. I was just respecting their boundary, and in doing so, I was finally drawing one of my own. They came over one last time. It was a Sunday evening. They didn't call first. I saw their car pull up through my new peephole. I took a deep breath, unlocked the door, and opened it before they could knock. They looked startled. Michael spoke first. "Mom, we got your letter. We need to talk about this. It's crazy." "Please, come in," I said, my voice even. They walked into the living room, but they didn't sit down. The energy was tense, electric. "Mom, you can't just cut us off," Michael said, his voice rising. "We have obligations, debts." "Those are your obligations, Michael," I said quietly. "You are a 35-year-old married man. They belong to you." Chloe stepped forward, her eyes flashing. "Laura, this is ridiculous. After everything we've built together? After all our plans?" I looked at her, then at my son. I felt a profound sadness, but it was clean. It was not mixed with guilt anymore. "Your plans," I said, "did not include me. You made that very clear. You told me you only wanted the people who are actively part of your daily life, building your future. I heard you, and I am finally listening." Michael's face crumpled in frustration. "That was about the wedding. This is about real life." "This is real life, Michael," I said, my voice gaining a little strength, but I did not shout. "Real life is paying your own rent.
Real life is managing your own debts. I have done that for you for years. I am retiring from the job." There was a long, heavy silence. Chloe looked at me with a coldness I had never seen before. "You're going to regret this," she said, her voice low. "When you're old and alone and you need us, remember this moment."
I met her gaze. I have been alone for a long time, Chloe. The only difference now is that I know it. They left then, the door closing with a soft, final click. I stood in the silence of my home. The silence was no longer loud. It was peaceful. It was mine. That was 2 years ago. I never saw them again. I heard through a mutual friend that they had to move to a smaller apartment, that Chloe got a promotion and Michael took on a second job. A part of me ached for the struggle, but a larger part hoped it would build in them the character that my money had prevented. I sold the house. It was filled with too many ghosts, both the beautiful ones of David and a young Michael, and the painful ones of betrayal. I moved into a lovely, bright apartment in a community for active seniors. I made friends, real friends. We play cards, we go to the movies, we talk about our lives, our losses, and our small daily joys. I used some of the money I had been sending to Michael and Chloe to take a trip. I went to Italy. I stood in front of the Trevi Fountain and threw a coin in, not for a wish, but in thanks for my freedom. The love I had for my son was real. It was deep and true, but I had confused love with self-sacrifice. I thought being a good mother meant erasing myself to make his life easier. I was wrong. Love should not require you to disappear. I learned that setting a boundary is not an act of rejection, but the ultimate act of self-respect. If this story resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. For more quiet stories of reflection and strength like this one, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening.